Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nadine Sachs, and I'm the owner of Surely Organized. So together with Jenna Blake, we do a lot of organizing in the area, and we're excited to be here presenting. It's our first time. Sorry, I'm just getting over a bad cold. I'm fine, but you can just hear my voice a little bit. So I've been a professional organizer since 2006, mostly working in the Baltimore area. I've been together with my husband for 23 years, and he's actually had a house on Tillman Island for, 30 some years. So when I first started coming down here with him on the weekends, totally fell in love right away. I'm from a small town in South Africa, so this whole area just is exactly what I love. And then, like a lot of people, when COVID happened, we made the decision to move down here full time. We were thinking about that anyway. We still have an apartment in Baltimore, but I'm just so happy to be down in this area. So feel free to ask questions during the presentation. I will try and leave some time at the end for some questions. I'm going to let Jenna just introduce herself briefly, and then we'll get started.
Hi, my name is Jenna. I met Nadine a couple of years ago, and we've been working together a little bit over a year now. Prior to that, I'm an East Ridgeway local. I went to Salisbury University, and that's where I studied human communication studies and psychology. So with that, I've always had like an interest in simplicity and order and a deeper understanding and connection, and eventually that led me to, I picked up a book one day called The Holistic Home, and that book was about making connections with yourself and your environment, and that led me to being certified in Feng Shui, which, short answer, is about creating balance. So with the organization that I do with Nadine, and then my experience in being certified with Feng Shui just adds a little different, more emotional approach to that. So I hope that you enjoy what we have to say today.
All right, thank you, Jenna. Okay, so I want to just touch on, just briefly, some of the reasons why one might be thinking about downsizing. So it could be a change in your life situation, whether it's, a new marriage. We've dealt with clients where there are two people that have established homes and now they're joining homes, and so lots of decisions, whose kitchen pots are better than the others, whose sofa is more comfortable. So, a lot of downsizing has to happen. I had a client once who lost her husband, and she had so much going on. She was getting remarried, she was moving to a different state, she had 3 children, 2 of them were going to college, and she had this entire house where she'd been living for 40 years, to downsize. So kind of stressful. It could be that you've just decided to move to a smaller home, and then that's just a math situation. Well, how much of this can fit into this, So again, you've got to make lots of decisions. Sometimes one is dealing with the illness or the death of elderly parents, and I myself had my mother and stepfather living in Silver Spring. He was quite a bit older than my mother. He had to go into an assisted living. My mother was starting to get dementia. She was going to move somewhere else. Very stressful because they hadn't made any of those decisions themselves. And so myself and my 2 siblings, plus 3 step siblings who we weren't really close with, we had to deal, with all of this. So those 3 tough situations can be emotional and stressful. Personally, the next 2 are what I hope for a lot of my clients. Okay, so you're already living in a home and you just want to reduce the amount of possessions that you have. Someone just wants to live a little bit more simply, less cluttered, enjoy their home more. Highly recommend that. And then, preparing for the future. I can give an example of some clients that I'm actually working with. I've been working with them for quite a few years, and the first time I met them, we usually tour the whole house together. And the basement wasn't the priority, but I wanted to see everything because we need to know all the storage possibilities. And we were touring the basement, and it's a lot of stuff. And I forget if it was the husband or the wife said, let's not worry about this. We'll let our children deal with it. Well, that was a couple of years ago. I still work with them on and off. And in those couple of years, out of their 2 children, one's moved overseas. The other one is their daughter. How unfair to have to burden her one day with this job. But with that being said, we are dealing with the basement, and we've done a lot of organizing, and I'm happy, and I know that they're happy as well. So I truly feel that it's a gift that one can give your children by you taking charge of this, you making the decisions. And so it's not something that has to happen, after you pass away. And so, it's good to try and develop a plan, start the process. You can never start too early. So back in Baltimore, we lived here at Tillman and we had this rather large house in Baltimore. And so it was ridiculous. I would come in for the weekend. When I got to Tillman, I was running around quickly watering the flowers. I'd get back to Baltimore. I was like, oh my gosh, the flowers on a hot summer weekend are going to die. Let me water those. We had a long driveway. There was snow. It was a whole huge thing. We said, okay, this is ridiculous. Let's have one house with a garden and a yard. And in Baltimore, let's downsize. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I knew about 2 years in advance that we were going to be doing this. And I said, I'm starting now. Because I know, I've worked with enough people to know. On the other hand, there I am thinking, oh, I'm a professional organizer. This is going to be a piece of cake. No problem. I can deal with this. We don't have a cluttered house. It was still a lot of work and it was still exhausting. That last month, well, actually my husband ended up falling and breaking his neck, so he couldn't really help me. He's fine. But it was still exhausting. I did so many trips to Goodwill. I had an eBay person come in. It was just time consuming. So the whole point is that it's never too early to start. Okay, so again, downsizing doesn't mean you can't own what you love. It's just a little bit less of it. So a quick outline, we'll talk a little bit about how we got into the situation, learn a systematic approach on how to clear out your things. I'm going to give you some tips. Is anyone in here planning on moving in the near future? Okay. Okay, so just some tips for moving. I'm going to touch briefly on challenging family situations. Can you just pass me? This is the workbook. This could be another whole course, actually. This is called Who Gets Grandma's Yellow Pie Plate? And it's a wonderful workbook because it just gives you a lot to think about families. There's all different personalities in your family. I know I've got 2 daughters. One is a collector and she's sentimental and she's emotional. She cries about things. The other one doesn't care, but does that mean that just because the one cares a whole lot, do I end up giving all my things to her? So there's a lot of those kinds of things in this workbook that I think is worth looking at. So we'll touch on that. We'll talk about what to do with the items that you no longer need. That has really been my goal as a professional organizer, not to have things going to the dump. So as much as possible to find other homes. And then we'll try and use some time for, questions and answers. So just to talk a little bit about trends in the marketplace, and it's interesting, I for a while I was teaching a lot and then I wasn't, and so this class I haven't taught for a while. So I just wanted to go back and just Google and just look at some numbers and things, and the numbers have grown. But talking about the average American home, how that has grown, from a 1,500 square foot house to 2,400. We live in a society where bigger is always better. People are living longer, so there's more time to be accumulating a lot of things. I know that's a big range with hoarders, between 5 and 14 million hoarders. Hoarders, they're pretty, sometimes you have no idea what's going on in someone's house. We typically don't work in a hoarder situation because you really need a whole team of people for that. Before I became an organizer, my husband in Baltimore was rehabbing houses, and this gentleman, it was very sad, had lost his house because he literally was living in his car. He couldn't actually live in his house. I did one time try and go into the house, and I was just interested, and you barely could walk in. You had no idea where, some of the doorways were. It was just filled. And after people had gone through all the things, it was a mixture of trash and then brand new things. It was just a total mixture of things. I do think fondly of one of my clients. Maybe she's the closest to a hoarder. She was just so interested in everything. So information was her thing, and she just collected papers and magazines and articles. But the only reason she called me, she was renting an apartment, and I think a maintenance person had come in to do something, and he reported her because it was unsafe for her. She had pathways, but then piles. She had a person come in and clean the house, so it wasn't, a situation with dogs and cats and very dirty. Certainly, once you were working through the piles, there was a lot of dust there, which isn't good for you. But so she called me initially. We got the condo into a pretty good situation. A year later, she called me again. And then I think the most recent time she was actually moving to an assisted living. And so we really had to go through everything. Storage facilities. I think there are 45,000 plus storage facilities. And I have no problem if a client wants to use one for a temporary situation. So, okay, my adult children are about to move into a house and they want some of these things. So let's store them. That's probably not usually the case. These kids today, they're not interested in all of our fancy china and silver. The antique dealers know this, and so it's interesting if you have an antique dealer come in. They know what they can sell. They know what's selling and what's not selling. But it really should be for temporary situations. Otherwise, it's really a waste of money. I've seen situations where people are storing their things for years. In Baltimore, I helped a client recently get a storage unit. I think every month, or every year, I don't know, the price can go up. It's expensive, and then the things are just sitting there. And then, just consumerism. I mean, we live in America, and we're always encouraged to be buying more and more and more. So, Jenna, I'm going to give this slide to Jenna to talk a little bit about why do we hold on to things?
Okay. Several different reasons we hold on to things. One reason is we hold on to things just in case.
Can you speak up?
Okay, I'll try. So we hold on to things just in case we might need it. So holding on to something just in case indicates that there's a lack of trust, that you don't have what you need or you won't have what you need. So a lack of trust instills feelings of insecurity and fear. So holding on to things just in case, as opposed to letting things go and receiving them as you need them, is a better way to look at things. It's a healthier way to keep things that you need in the moment. And when certain moments arise, because those are unknown, you never know, you might have exactly what you need. Like this past weekend, I had to do a show, and I was running around Target and Lowe's and Marshall's trying to, I need this, and then this stuck to me. I remembered, you have exactly what you need. So I dropped everything, which was about $200 worth of stuff, went home and found absolutely everything that I need, and I already had it. So there's another reason that we hold on to things is identity, because sometimes we identify ourselves with our things. Like, our things don't own us, we own our things. Status is another thing, to keep up appearance or feel like the things that you have are definitive of who you are, which is not the case. Security is another reason. We can thank media and advertising for that. It makes us feel as if we need more when actually less is more. Territorialism. So happiness we're not defined by our things again, and happiness does not come from what we have, it comes from what we have. And inherited clutter. So we come from, say our parents or our grandparents or great-grandparents grew up in a different time than we did. They grew up in a time where say the Great Depression, or where there was poverty. So when they got things, they kept things. And my grandmother kept everything, absolutely everything, to the point where when she passed away, there were some really great things that we found. Like, she wrote down everything. My father gave her a $100 bill for Christmas one year, and she kept it. And she wrote a note and said, Rusty gave this to me for Christmas one year, which was sweet to find, but there comes a point where we have to start letting things go. And inherited clutter, we seem to keep out of memory, even though those things don't hold the memories that we have with those people, and the experiences that we have with them, and the things that we learn from them, that's what we hold on to, not a physical aspect of them. And then again, the belief that more is better. Money, a lot of people hold on to things because they spent money on it. But then in the end, they realize that they have spent too much money on things. So in the end, you have to spend money to get rid of the things that you spent money on. So it's actually costing you more than what you think it is initially. And then suppressing emotions, which is, I've found to be a bigger issue. Two things that I've dealt with, two clients in specific, is guilt and grief. Guilt and grief are very difficult emotions if you've ever experienced them yourself. I had a client one time who just stuff everywhere. She didn't understand why she was holding on to it, and so many different reasons. And I picked up this one item that I asked her. I said, I need you to tell me what you see, what you feel when you look at this item. And her initial reaction was, you could see her whole spirit go down. She's like, well, so-and-so made it for me, so I feel like I should. And I said, that's guilt. So all these items in your house that you're hanging on to for guilt is perpetuating guilt inside of you. So in essence, you're surrounding yourself with guilt. When someone gives you a gift, you say thank you. And that exchange of that gift, your responsibility to that gift is done. Hold on to it for a little bit. If you don't like it, then give it to someone or a cause that will like it. They gave the gift, you said thank you, and your responsibility to that gift is over. The second emotion is grief. Whatever you're grieving, if you're grieving losing a part of yourself, if you're grieving the loss of a job, if you're grieving the loss of a person, we hold on to those things, but finding the meaning, finding a happier memory in some things that you want to hold on to when you're ready, because everyone grieves in a different way. No one can tell you how to grieve. No one can tell you there is no time limit or a restriction on your grief, but grief is a big one. I had a gentleman whose wife passed away, and I went to his home, and he wanted to get rid of her belongings. And I said, well, I need to know when you're ready to do this. I don't want it to be too soon. And his wife had passed away 7 days ago, and he wanted it done on that Friday, which was 2 days from the day that I originally met him. So for him, it was better that it was gone, But then I also met a lady the other day who, in the next year, wants me to help her. Her daughter passed away a few years ago, and she said maybe in the next year or so she'll be ready to start going through those things. So it's different for everyone, but there's definitely emotional connections to your things. And let me see, too many decisions and overwhelming. It is a lot of decisions. You made a lot of decisions to accumulate your things, and they didn't all get there in one day. So there's a lot of decisions involved in getting rid of your things or sorting through your things. And that certainly doesn't happen in one day either. So, and why else? I mean, there's a lot of different reasons.
Well, does anyone want to share
Yeah.
if they're having a hard time letting go of something?
Well, it's not letting go. It's I've got a chair that's in very bad condition, but I know it's worth something. It's a type of chair.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where to do with that chair.
Okay. So that's when you have resources. There's a lot of resources.
Okay.
You may not know, but Nadine may know. I may know.
Or who to call,
Yeah.
and we're gonna get into that towards the
Okay,
end.
good.
Yeah.
Family heirlooms that the younger generation is not interested in.
I will touch on that if I
Sure,
can, real
please.
quick. There was a couple that we met a couple weeks ago, and we stepped into this one room, and the gentleman said, everything in this room is from a family member, whether it be something that was passed down, a piece of art that someone did, and he was having a really hard time letting go of it. He didn't want it anymore, his wife didn't want it anymore, his family, his extended family, they didn't want it. And so it just popped in my head because they had shown us pictures of their grandchildren, which was like 6 to 8. It was a lot. And they had also talked about, setting up a college tuition. So I said, well, how about if you look at it this way? Some of these are antiques, some of these are beautiful. Some of these will be enjoyed by someone else. So if you sell these things and you take that money that you got from selling these items and you put it into the tuition fund for your grandchildren, that mirror that's hanging on the wall that no longer means anything to you could pay for the philosophy class that inspires one of your grandchildren to pursue a passion. Just think about it in a different way. So, and he said, thank you. I appreciate that. There's a lot of different ways to process things. And us coming into your things that you're emotionally attached to, we aren't. So we have a different way to look at it and a different way to help you work through it and solve, the concerns that you have. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, next slide, scaling down mission statements. So it's something that we ask our clients to think about. Like, let's just say we're working in one room that's, they're just not happy with. Try and have a vision of what you would like it to look like. How would you like to feel when you walk into the room? Right now you're tripping over things, you can't find things. I can think of a client who I worked with in Baltimore, a pretty cluttered house, like every surface had things. She told me about her beach house that she recently bought in, I think, Rehoboth, and she said what she loves about going in there is when she walks in, she just has the things that she needs. So, she just purchased, a couple of things for the kitchen, 8 coffee mugs. And so she called it her vacation house feeling. She wanted to recreate that in Baltimore. So that was her vision. Perhaps, let's just say you're working in your office, if you go through a magazine and you find a picture of an office that you just think is beautiful, cut it out, put it on the wall, and have it there as inspiration. So especially like when you're feeling stuck, you can go back to that. So that's something that's pretty important. So a couple of tips, some quick tips. We get a little annoyed at like these TV shows where they show you, in 24 hours, we changed everything and made everything beautiful. That is not realistic. What was interesting, yesterday, Jenna and myself were working in this garage with a couple here in Easton, and I didn't say it. The lady said it. At the end, we kind of just looked around to see what we had done. We had made great progress. It wasn't finished. There was a whole lot of stuff that was going to go to Habitat. There were things that she wanted her children to look at. There were a couple of areas we hadn't touched yet. But she said, we've been here 5 years, this isn't going to happen in 2 seconds. And that's the whole point. I mean, I've worked with clients that have been in their house for 40 years, and they've never, the one house I'm thinking about, it wasn't a hoarder situation, but the lady, they were both lawyers, they were both busy. We're going through drawers, and she's showing me little corduroy pants of her son, who is now in his 60s. But she just never taken the time to go through. So it took a lot of time to get their house, uncluttered. So there's 2 options to start off with. I actually prefer the option 2, but let's just talk about option 1. Sometimes papers are important and they have to go through their papers. One of those boxes could take about an hour to go through if you have to look at each paper. So it's just a little tedious, a little difficult. I prefer, for our first session, to make an impact. So I prefer option 2, a closet. In 3-4 hours, Jenna or myself can totally transform your closet. A kitchen, you can do it, pantry takes a while if you're pulling out all these food items and you have to look at expiration dates and things like that. But the garage, we made a difference. It wasn't perfect after the first session, but we'll go back. So I prefer starting with a high impact area, get the clients motivated, get them excited, make some changes. Try and think if you've got some family members that can help you, not for them to do it for you, but learn how to delegate. I mean, if there are a couple of things that you need done, and if you have someone around, don't be shy to ask for help. well, if you want later on, you can ask how we work. I'm not going to go into in detail, but a professional organizer, as Jenna just said, we can be very helpful. I do think about it. It was a friend of a friend who called me in the Baltimore area. My parents have passed away. They've got a big old house. Can you give me, first of all, you wanted me to estimate how long it was going to take, which is very hard to do. Sometimes after we've worked with a client for a couple of sessions and we know if they're going to make quick decisions, and it's a little easier to get a handle on how long something's going to take. But this was a huge whole house filled with things. The woman was a crafter. She had so many interests. When he spoke to his two sisters, he decided not to hire me. He said, we don't have the funds for you, but thank you for all your ideas and all that kind of thing. Well, a year later, they hadn't even finished going through the house because they all worked during the week. So they got together on the weekends, and different siblings, different ideas of what they should do with the things. We probably could have helped them in way less time, and they probably could have got that house on the market and, got some money back for that. We do ask, like, if you're thinking of doing this, don't go out and buy anything new in the meantime. Don't go out and buy a ton of organizing products. I've had a lot of clients who think, oh, I'm going to go to the container store, I'm going to buy this, this, and this, and I'm going to be organized. It doesn't work that way. And what we also try and do is use the things that our clients have. The garage yesterday, they had a lot of bins that we could use. We're going to have to buy a few more, but let's rather use what you have first. And then, yes, it took a lifetime to accumulate, and it's going to take some time to let go. All right, so clearing the clutter. Let's see, okay. So this is just to give you some, quick tips on how to go about this. Having a goal date, if you're moving, of course, that's your date. But otherwise, try and give yourself, okay, by the end of the summer, we worked in the garage yesterday, thank goodness, because I don't want to be working in the garage in the middle of 90+ degree humidity. So anyway, but you give yourself a time limit. By this time, by Thanksgiving, when I have people come to my house, I want my house to be just, in a better situation. So that's going to help you. Dedicating the time. So if you're hiring organizers, you're paying us, we've set aside time, but you can do that yourself. You can put time in your own calendar, 1 hour. 4 hours, whatever's going to work for you. Try not to be bouncing backwards and forwards between rooms. I think start small, whether it's a drawer, the junk drawer in the kitchen, whether it's a closet, whether it's a bookshelf. Just try and say to yourself, okay, I'm going to get through this bookshelf. I'm going to go through all the books, all the knickknacks, and that's what I'm going to get done today. So, doing it in chunks is going to be very helpful. And then just saying, if we work with you in a 3 to 5 hours, we're going to get something done. We don't typically like to work less than that because we don't want to just be getting into it and then the time's over. So a 3 to 5 hour, you're going to see a big change. I'm not going to go through all these supplies, but these are some things that you might want to think about. Before and after shots are great. I like doing that with my clients because, not that we often have it, but if the client's saying, why is this taking so long? Let's go look at the before picture and see what it did look like, But it can also be good for you to go back and say, oh my goodness, look at the change I've made. We use labels. We try and label things so that you don't have to rethink things. Of course, we prefer clear plastic bins. So you can see what's in there. But if it's a cardboard box, you've opened it up, you've seen what it is, label it so you don't have to revisit and re-question what might be in there. We ask clients to start just collecting a lot of even just cardboard boxes for the sorting process. We don't really like it for the final storage, but it's good to have boxes. Trash bags, recycling. I just want to show you these tiger tacos at the end. I like using these if someone's moving or unpacking. So I should have brought a box in to show you, but you know how the box has flaps? The flap can go down and you just put this on it and it keeps the flaps, because the flaps can get in the way when you've got a lot of things going on. You could also use like a binder clip, but they're a little bit more tricky. I just love this little gadget. So it's called a tiger taco. It looks like a taco. So yeah, whatever you need to make your job easier and to have it all in one place. It's always about having the right tools at the right time. So you're not, I've got to go to the store to buy some more, tape or whatever. So I can't express about labeling, whether it's using just sticky notes. You've got to make sure they're good sticky ones, that they're not going to come off. We often use like little index cards with a piece of shipping tape over it, it's going to hold it in place. So some of the supplies you might want to think about. Oh, that's Jenna's turn too. Talking about, just to talk a little bit about, you know, the feng shui perspective of letting go of things.
I think we have one question back here as well.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, have you ever found masking tape that works, that you can actually pull it off and use it, and you have brand names that you would suggest?
I mean, like that blue tape, like
Yeah, but a lot of times you pull it off and it rips on you, and then you're half an hour trying to find the end of it, trying to open it again to reuse it, you can't do it.
I don't generally use masking tape too much.
Okay.
We use like the clear shipping tape. That's very, like in the garage that we worked in yesterday, we did index cards with a piece of shipping tape, and I know that that's not going to come off. Now, of course, you know, you don't want to put that on something where, you know, if you pull it off, it's going to ruin it, but
Yeah.
that's sort of our go-to.
Okay, so the feng shui perspective dives a little deeper into the meaning. It's a little bit more of an emotional perspective. So take for instance, if I walk into someone's closet or someone's living room, if you would apply these same principles, does it fit, does it flatter, does it function? So does, you know, if you're walking into your closet or if you're walking into your kitchen or your living room, and as you're assessing things, does it fit, does it flatter, does it function? But with the feng shui, we add, does it align with your spirit? You know, does it align with who you are and where you are in your life at the moment? So clear and clutter, it's all about letting go, and not just letting go of the objects, but letting go of the fears or negative emotions that are attached to it. Okay, and it also, if life is a constant change, we are constantly changing. So you have to make space in your home and in yourself to welcome new things. You know, once you have something for so long, I like to use the reference of, say, like a book. Say if it's a book that inspired you to think a different way, or a book that taught you how to do something. Like once you've read that book, maybe you read it twice, maybe you read it 3 times. Once you've read it so many times and you've practiced either the skill or the mindset, that book becomes a part of you now. So you don't need it any longer. So the same thing goes with some of your stuff. Sometimes it becomes such a part of you that you no longer need it, or life is constantly changing. So maybe those particular colors or those particular things that you're holding on to, they don't fit who you are anymore. They could fit someone else. Also, it says your body is the temple, and therefore we keep around your body and in your physical space what works for it, like what supports it. Prosperity, abundance, you know, good fortune, happiness, and to remove anything that doesn't support that. They say that love and fear can't exist in the same space. So if you're holding on things for fear of letting go, you're in a sense resisting love and happiness. Any questions about that?
Thank you. Just a little bit more. So, you know, this is sort of like the step by step. I think about when I was training to be an organizer in Baltimore, and I went with another organizer on the job. Excuse me. It was a townhouse. The lady wanted to sell it. The entire basement was filled. So I'm going down with this other organizer, and in my head I'm thinking, oh my goodness, where do we start? What do we do? Well, you start in one corner. You try and clear a little space to have these cardboard boxes that I was talking about for the sorting, and you start in one corner. You start pulling one thing at a time, looking at it, making a decision. If it's going to be kept, it goes into one of the boxes, and you start with categories, books, you know, cleaning products. It's just, there's no other way around doing it. So in this basement, which was a typical townhouse, it took 2 sessions for both of us, 4-hour sessions, to sort and categorize. And then a third session where we got some shelving and we got some, that's kind of the fun part, the shelving and the bins, and we labeled and made it also look nice as well, and also ready for her move. She could just move those bins now in a very organized fashion. But so yeah, it's just, you know, it doesn't happen magically. So one item, it either goes into the existing category, you create a new category. You've got another category to think about is a reroute. So you want to keep it, but it doesn't belong in whichever room you're working. If you're working in the kitchen and I don't know, it's your child's toy or something. Okay, so that's in the reroute, it's got to go somewhere else. But that's basically the sorting and the categorizing. So all of our clients are different. We're working in different areas. So everyone's going to have these different categories. And then these are other categories, okay? Trash, recycle, or donate. So, you know, sometimes in that basement of that townhouse, it was a little cramped and it was a little hard. So we had to kind of push and move and make one of the piles bigger just to create some space. But it's pretty amazing to watch how it just happens. So we worked around the whole basement. Everything was in boxes, sticky notes for temporary labels. And then we went out and bought when we knew what we needed, right? So we didn't rush out in the beginning and buy bins and things. We had to see, you know, okay, we need a big bin for this. We need a small bin for that. But this is the sorting and the categorizing. A lot of decisions have to be made. It can be a lot. Now, we're there to help the clients, but they're the ones making the decisions. Neither Jenna nor myself are pushy. There are some organizers that might have different personalities to us, and they might say, oh, that's terrible, you can't keep that, but that's not the way we work. So, you know, and again, just questions to ask yourself during this sorting and purging process. You know, what's also great is like I was working in a garage with a client, so tools everywhere. Well, once we had categorized and he saw that he had 10 hammers, who needs 10 hammers? So let's take a look. Let's see which are in the best condition. Let's keep 3. I love thinking, I'm going to be honest, most of our clients are female, but I remember working with a gentleman in Baltimore and he was getting into cooking and he was very excited and he was printing out recipes. And every time he had a new recipe, he would go to the store and buy every single thing, including like the spices. So when he asked me to organize his kitchen and his spice cabinet was this deep, dark cabinet and I had to pull everything out, well, there were like 10 oreganos and 6 paprikas. That's a waste of money, really. And, you know, spices don't last forever. So the point is that helps you make the decision. Once you've done that sorting and categorizing, it's going to be so much easier for you to let go of things. You know, if something is in disrepair, are you going to take the time to repair it? I mean, unfortunately, we do live in a society where, you know, it's so easy, things break and you just go get a new one. But be realistic with yourself, you know, in the closet. So this has a stain on or this has a rip. Okay, so put it into a bag, you know, to go to the dry cleaners and get that into your car. If you're not going to do that, you know, think about letting it go. You know, just some other things to think about. Is this item making my life easier in some ways? It's saving me time. You know, I feel like in your home, everything should have some kind of function. And it can be a piece of artwork that's on the wall and it's providing beauty and you enjoy looking at it. That's a function in the same way that, you know, you need a toilet plunger. But if something is just sitting there and it's not doing anything for you, your home, you know, just try and think about it in that way. It's got to be doing something for me. And we don't live in museums. Not everything has to be put away 100% of the time. I mean, my house isn't perfect. But if I'm having a friend over and I want to tidy up, it's going to take me minutes instead of hours. If we're going to have people over for dinner, the dining room table is pretty clear, you know, so nothing is like overwhelming. But again, you want to be comfortable in your house and you want to enjoy your things. And then, yeah, like working in a pantry, you know, I don't toss something if it expired yesterday, you know, you've got to use your sense. But we've definitely worked in some pantries where things are very old. So, you know, those unfortunately have to be thrown out. And then, you know, just to ask yourself, well, what is the worst thing that's going to happen if I do get rid of this? Probably nothing major. Trying to think I think I missed 1 or 2 little things from when we did our big move in Baltimore, but nothing that I couldn't replace. I think I'm a little bit sorry that I've got 2 girls. I mean, they're older, but I'm a little sorry that I never kept one of their little dresses or something. I don't know, I was very much, just let's let things move on. But for the most part, you're not going to be that upset because we are lucky to live where we live. We've got stores close by, and if something that you really need to let go of, you can repurchase it. So storage, like I said before, a lot of my clients feel that if they just buy things, they're going to be organized. You've got to do this whole sorting process first, because if you already have a shelving system, I mean, we'll measure the shelves, the depth, the height. Either we'll go buy the bins for our clients afterwards, or we'll tell them where they can go and buy things. You can't run out and just buy it. You should take a measuring tape with you when you go into Target or Walmart, and make sure, especially with bins, you've got to measure the bin when it's got the lid on as well, because sometimes it's so frustrating when something just won't fit. Sturdy, attractive containers can it's not that organizing has to be beautiful, but I think when it does look nice, it is. It brings you joy. You walk into a room and everything's in its place, and it just really, I think, does make a difference. Nice lids that can have a lid, then you can stack them. And then again, label everything. Even if it's a clear bin, we try and label as well. I was very excited because I go backwards and forwards to Baltimore and here that the Container Store opened up in Annapolis. I'm not sure if any of you have been there, but they're great. They've got sort of things that others like Target and Walmart may not have, but they're very pricey as well. And so, that's where we also can help you. There are other companies that have very similar things for less expensive, but they do have some interesting organizing products. Okay, and this is going to be Jenna again to tell us how we can stay clutter-free once we've done all that work. That's actually the most important part of everything. It's the maintenance.
Yes. So like we said, organizing and decluttering is a process. It's an ongoing process. At first, it can be a very strenuous one. But once you get there, like once you come in and make a dent, like you pick one surface and then you spread without, okay? And the amount of relief that you start feeling is, it inspires you to keep that momentum going. So there's a place for everything and everything in its place, and store similar things together. So think of every room in your house. So think of it as every room has a purpose. So like your kitchen. Your kitchen's purpose is to prepare, store food, eat food. Your kitchen is about, that's what that's about. So anything that goes in your kitchen must support that purpose. Just like your bedroom. Your bedroom is for relaxation, rejuvenation, sleep. So there shouldn't be anything in your bedroom that doesn't support that. So when you go through your home and when you put things in your home, make sure you're putting them where they belong. You're putting them in the rooms that have a purpose, and make sure they support that purpose. And keeping things, we can't always fit everything, where exactly it's supposed to be. But if you keep them near where you're going to use them, like you don't want to store something at the end of your hall closet that you need near your exit door, and so forth.
Jenna, can I just give an example
Yes.
of what you just said? So I had a client a lot of us have to do seasonal switchovers in our closets because we can't fit all of our clothes. So to do her seasonal switchover, we had to leave her bedroom, walk through a hallway, go into another room, go through like a secret door. I had to bend down, and there was like a cedar closet. Now, she's probably not going to do that on her own twice a year. I mean, that's why she called me, but that wasn't really very convenient. So convenience is going to really make a difference as to how you're going to keep things up.
And if you keep things near, you're more apt to remember that you have them. So you're going to use them. You're not going to, lose them or go out and replace them. So you're saving money as well.
Yes.
And if you're never going to use it, get rid of it. So if you don't love it and you don't use it, get rid of it. something new, something old. So if you're bringing new things in, make sure you get rid of the old things because you bought something new for a reason, and that's to replace something either that was outdated or whatnot. And mindful shopping. Don't shop on emotion. Like we all know what happens if we go to the grocery store and we're hungry, right? We come home with bags and bags full of stuff that we end up like, why did I even buy this? You know, it's because you're hungry. So if you're excited when you go shopping for something, you're apt to just like, you know, you're gonna go with the adrenaline, you're gonna buy things that you don't need just because you, for a moment's time, you temporarily liked it or you thought you wanted it. Or the flip side, if you're sad, you're gonna latch on to anything that makes you feel better for whatever reason. If it's the color, it reminds you of something. So yeah, mindful shopping. When you're shopping for something, think about it first. Like, do I need this? Do I already have this? Why do I want this? Do I want to spend the money on this? Like, really think about it. Don't just, those impulse buys are the ones that gets you in trouble. Those impulse buys are the ones that fill up your closets and your drawers and then leave you overwhelmed. So yeah, mindful shopping is definitely key to staying free of clutter.
I think also with online shopping, that's a little bit of a problem because it's so easy. You could be in your bedroom at like 12 o'clock at night.
One click and it's on its way.
So I know that not many of you are planning on moving, but this class was supposed to touch on that a little bit. So I'm just going to give you a couple of tips and maybe it's something you can think about in the future or you could help someone else that you know is moving. It is a good idea to take photographs. You know, you might have loved something in your house and you might have not loved something. And it's good to have a reminder of both. Because when you've moved, you don't want to be like, oh, I'm missing my house. It was perfect. It probably wasn't perfect. So it's not a bad idea to also remember those areas that, or those rooms that you didn't like as much. But take some photos and that's going to help you. Also, if you want to recreate something that you loved so much in one home and you want to recreate it in your next home, you know, a photograph is going to help you. So creating zones, I think is getting into the packing. You know, sometimes people pack for themselves, sometimes movers pack for you. You know, a mover's going to pack, they're just interested in getting everything into a box. They don't really care, you know, if the box is completely organized or, so when we're working with a client who's going to move, we can pack as we go. We're not going to pack fragile items because most movers will not insure a fragile item unless they've packed it themselves. But certainly if we're going through clothes and it's in the summertime, we can start packing the client's winter clothes up, books we can pack, toys, things like that. But try and create a little zone in your house because this is going to be, you know, something that's probably going to be happening over weeks and months where if you just need a little quiet time, you can go and sit down for a second, maybe some aspirin in case you've got a headache, some paper plates if you need to be eating, you know, all your supplies, your shipping tape, your utility knife, just create this zone. And actually those kinds of important things like the utility knife and all that, at the end, just pack into a little box or bag and make sure that goes with you so you have it on the other end for when you're going to start unpacking. So there are going to be things in your house that aren't going to be packed and moved with you. So you want to create a giveaway zone. And again, with a little piece of tape or something, just say who it's going to, whether it's going to be donated or perhaps you're waiting for a family member to come over and pick it up. And then start with the places that are a little bit easier, the essential places. I don't think, you know, starting with the shed outside is, you know, a good idea. Just start off with those areas where you can start moving quite quickly, make quick decisions, and then get to the areas that are a little bit more difficult. You know, you're asking different questions now to when we were talking before about just general sorting and cluttering. You're now asking some other things. Is this going to work in the new space? Is the sofa going to fit in that new room? Is it worth the cost of moving? If it's something that's a little bit old and you were thinking, you know, in about 6 months replacing, well, maybe don't move it. And, you know, even if you have to move into the new house without a sofa for a while, is it worth the cost of moving? And this is very important, that third one. I want that when you're on the other end and you're opening up a box, I want you to be kind of happy to see what's in there. I don't want you opening a box and thinking, why did I bring this? Where am I going to put this? I want you to open up and say, oh yeah, oh, I'm so excited to put this on the shelf or, whatever.
Then you end up shutting that box and putting it in a closet
Exactly.
already.
Exactly. We've seen clients who move and they have boxes that they've never opened. I mean, that's telling you something. Those items, you either don't love them or you don't need them. So color coordination is very helpful to the mover. So you can say, okay, this child's bedroom is going to be pink, so any box. And that's where, I'm forgetting, it's not, is it not painter's tape, but the other tape that really sticks on well, that we took off, what do you call that tape?
Duct tape.
Duct tape. That comes in all kinds of colors. And so that's kind of a good thing to put on the box. And then in your house, you can, the entrance to the room, bless you, you can, put that same color. It's going to make the mover's job so much easier. They're just going to know exactly where each box goes. I would suggest creating an off limits, if you've got something really fragile, really important, find a closet maybe where you can just put those things in. When I did my move in Baltimore, I decided to move my fragile items myself. I just wanted to do that. So just be, mindful of the things that are very important to you, things that maybe are, very, financially worth something. Just be careful with a couple of things because it gets a little chaotic in that move for sure. And then again, just to, don't be shy to ask for help. Okay, so let's see what's next. All right, so this is a big, big thing. It's like the lady up front was just saying that you didn't know what to do with the chair that you had. Actually, before I move on to that, let me just miss something from this slide. Let me just see. I don't know, but I just had a couple more things. Oh no, I touched on all of that. Sorry. Color coordination, yeah. Okay. So what to do with unwanted items? So again, I'm not going to really get into this. And, I showed you the workbook, Who Gets Grandma's Yellow Pie Plate. But there's, a big difference between your titled versus your non-titled property. The titled property is your house, your car, your bank accounts, your investments. Usually it's pretty clear. One has made a decision how that might be divvied up amongst family members. It's the non-titled property, which are all those like sentimental items, the photo books, the little knickknacks that you've collected, the furniture. That's the non-titled property, and that actually creates more emotion and more problems because you do have children and family members that are so different from each other. We're a blended family. That's very common these days. And everyone's going to have different ideas of what's important to them. So that's why I highly suggest, even if you go online, there's so much information of different ways on how you could do that. So many tips and ideas. Like my husband used to have an antique store, so we have a couple of things that the kids don't know, the worth. So I haven't really taken the time to do this, but maybe to do a little sticky note and put underneath to say what it is, what it's worth. For one client, I did actually take photographs of all her possessions. She wanted me to do that, and we made a little book out of it. And she decided who was going to get what. I don't know, we like to think that our family are all going to get along, and are going to be great, and the kids are going to work together, but I think that's more of an exception. And that's the last thing that you want, is for these kinds of things to create strife amongst your children. So definitely, and it's difficult to think about that, because you're thinking about yourself, and one day, not being here, so it's very difficult. It's difficult to start those kinds of conversations, but they're very important. Most people have a will, and I believe you can actually make a list and add. Do you know more about that? Yeah, that you can have a list of all these other items and add that to your will. And I think that's so important and so helpful. So I would highly recommend that. When you're giving to other people, and you think of, right now about your children, immediate family members as being the first to, give them things. Then you can go towards, families and friends. And then you can think about organizations that you belong to, churches, synagogues. you have to also accept that if you're going to give something, and I think it's lovely while we're here to pass some things on, because then you get to see your children enjoying the item. You could give something that you have as I tend, I've got some grandchildren now, and I'm not a big giver of toys. I'm much more about the experience. My step granddaughters, they all have everything that they need, so I'm not buying expensive gifts for them. I'd rather take them on a trip or take them to see a show or something. But you could give some things that you want to give away as a Christmas gift or as a Hanukkah gift, and you can see your kids enjoying it. But you have to know that exactly what Jenna said, once you've given something, well, you said if you're receiving a gift, to say thank you and then that's it. So the same way if you're giving a gift, you can't be telling your child what to do with it or how to take care of it, if you've given it away. So in this area, we have Goodwill, we have Habitat for Humanity. They all keep changing their hours and what they'll take. And I know Habitat has come to pick up some things for a client. I think if it's worth their time and you have a lot of good things, they will come. I know that the Society of St. Vincent de Paul is a great charity, but I think they're so limited when you can drop things off. I think it's a Saturday for like 3 hours or something. If we're working with clients, we do offer one free carload full of donation that we'll take for our clients. We like to do that for them because we do have some clients that I know that if I leave the bag there, they might be opening it up when we're left and might be pulling some things out. So we try and make it easy for them. On the other hand, I can't fill my car with things, and then the client said, I want you to take it to Society of St. Vincent de Paul, and it's a Monday, and I can't drive around the whole week. So sometimes we have to do what's convenient, and it might have to be Goodwill. I know they're not open on a Monday or Tuesday. I don't know. This one, has anyone had experience with the neighborhood? Because when I was researching for this presentation, I came across, can you tell us a little bit about it?
The only thing I was involved in picking up excess food and delivering it there, and they were always very happy to receive it.
Oh, good, because they're located on Port Street.
So you have to go there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, that is the thing. I know in Baltimore there's other, the veterans, there's a children's society, and they'll come pick up. Most of them you have to leave the things outside. I did have one time where I left everything outside and they didn't come, which was very annoying. Very few will actually come into your house. But so when we're working with clients, we'll do that kind of research for them. If there's something in particular that they want to donate, we'll do that. Talbot Humane, I've dropped things off. They've got a nice big container on their porch. You don't even have to go in. And they also have a list online of the kinds of things that they want for the dogs and the cats, towels and rags and dog food and things like that. So, yes.
I would suggest that you add the Salvation Army in Cambridge.
Yes.
Okay.
Goodwill is very, can I say, they have a lot of extra baled things behind their store that sometimes gets wet. So the Cambridge store is large. They take almost everything. It's right on 50. They're organized. And they're very, very open to almost everything. I can't, I'm sure they have a list. But it's a very large store, and they'll take things. And they, to me, they're very respectful of what you're doing.
That's wonderful to know. Thank you. Because I know Goodwill is a little chaotic sometimes when you're dropping things off there.
The other thing to add, which I use all the time, is Purple Heart.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can register with them online, and they'll come and pick it up. All you have to do is put it outside.
Put it outside.
And they'll just pick it up.
Great. Thank you.
And St. Vincent de Paul will pick up. They only pick up 1 or 2 days a week. They will pick up if
Okay.
you call them. May take them a while, you have to leave a message, but
They will come.
they will come.
And that's furniture?
Oh, yeah, good enough, yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, because I don't have an SUV, so they have to come and pick up
They
furniture.
don't pick everything, but most things.
Okay.
I would suggest doing, like hospital commission shops, like the Bazaar in Easton, and there's another shop similar down in Cambridge, which supports the hospital in Cambridge.
Okay. Is it located at the hospital?
No, it's on
No.
Federal Street.
Okay,
The bazaar's on Federal Street. It's clothing. They accept small, at the time that I donated a handmade footstool. They took little furniture, jewelry. The other places that I tend to support are organizations that support cancer. So, there's State Treasures, it's now called the Closet on Ken Island. So anything donated there supports the hospice program in that county.
wonderful, thank you.
And
Yeah.
So again, it's clothes and nice jewelry, no furniture.
There's also the community,
St. Michael's?
St.
Yeah,
Michael's.
they're
Yeah,
great.
they take everything except big furniture.
Right. And one time, again, I got there and I was on the wrong day, but I went into the store and they were wonderful. They were
Yeah.
in the back and
I donated a lot there when I was living at the St. Michael's, so.
Yeah, and another place that I personally take a lot to is on Tillman Island. A very good friend of mine, she's the president of TIA, Tillman Area Youth Association.
Okay.
And she started, so she, and I don't know if anyone knows Amanda Pulkerton, and a wonderful baker who's at the St. Michael's markets. The three of us started a once a month market, which is actually, we were supposed to start, not this last weekend, the weekend before with all the rain, so we had to cancel. We just did the last Sunday of the month, April through October. But my friend Krista, who's the president, so she used to have a stall at the market, and it was so popular that she's now got a permanent store on Tillman Island, and she'll take anything, and 100% of that goes to tires. So for me, that's convenient for my clients. They don't usually, many of them don't care. They just want it to go to a good place. So as I'm driving home, I'll just say to Krista, "Can you open the store?" And she takes a lot of the things. So it does have to be convenient. But again, we try and help our clients with that. We'll do the research if there's something in particular. But thank you for all of your suggestions, because that's something, I haven't been organizing that long here, so it's good to learn about all these resources. I personally haven't done free cycle, but apparently people give away things, put something outside and say, please take free. It's probably going to disappear. And then this is actually an interesting, if you go on this website, www.mdrecycles.org, they give you a very extensive list of different donations and who takes what and who picks up. So that's also a good resource. Selling your stuff, it's time consuming. If you have that kind of time and you want to do some of those online, places, I've had people who've been very successful with Facebook Marketplace. Consignment stores, I used to do a lot of that. That's actually one of the ways that I met Jenna. She used to work at a consignment store and I would clothing, and I would bring my clients things from Baltimore to Easton. What I liked is that at the time you could actually go online and see a whole list of all your clothes and what was selling. I used to do that a lot for my clients. It's very time consuming, so not as much anymore. Because consignment, what's the one here in Easton? There's a wonderful consignment store. Baby Store, right?
Yeah. And Frugalicious.
And Frugalicious, right? So in Baltimore, you have to take photos, and then if it is a big piece of furniture, you've got to pay, to get it to the place. So you have to take all of these things into consideration. Do you have the time for that? What if it doesn't sell and you paid for it to go there? So a lot of things to think about. I'm going to let you talk about garage sales in just a minute. Antique dealers, I've used someone in Baltimore who will just come to your house and outright he will give you cash and buy something. And I always tell my clients, please, you need to have an idea of what you will sell it for. They're in business too. They need to make a profit. So they're going to be making a profit, but you've got to be comfortable with what he's going to give you. And like I said before, a lot of things that we think are worth so much just aren't anymore. So you just have to sometimes accept that things have changed. Auction houses, there's this company called, I think it's on the next slide, Max Salt, but sometimes that's a convenient way. If you have a whole house, they'll come in and they'll actually do it either in the house or they'll take your things with them and sell them. I want to show you this. I'm going to come back to that. Whoopsie. Okay, I'll come back to the garage sales. So this was the client that I told you was moving and she got remarried and she had 3 children and she had to hurry. And this was in her attic. And there were a lot of things in the attic and some of them had been sitting there and it wasn't temperature controlled. So some of the things were getting ruined. But she thought, I think she got this from her mother-in-law and she thought it was the ugliest thing. It's like a plant stand. I don't know, I remember there being like beads somewhere. Well, we had a dealer come in who took a lot of things. This piece brought thousands of dollars. Apparently it was some collection and she thought it was the ugliest thing and didn't care about it and was very surprised. So, you know, they know what they're talking about, which is good. When I did my big move in Baltimore and I had this eBay person come, I filled our dining room table with all the things that I thought she might be interested in. And the one thing was my husband loves his wine and he's done some Napa Valley travels. And he came back with this poster. I don't know, some of you might know what it is, but it's called the Blue Dog. I forget what the wine is. Now I'm in my blue phase. Down at Tillman, my whole house is blue, but in Baltimore, I wasn't in a blue phase, and so I wasn't going to take this poster and get it framed and put it up. It wasn't interesting to me. In fact, I was going to recycle it. When the eBay person came, she goes, oh, that's interesting. Let me do some research. And that poster brought in a whole lot of money because there was some artist who had passed away and there was some interest. So you just never know. It's kind of,
Excuse me.
yes.
You say eBay person. Are there specialists?
Yes, well, I know someone in Baltimore. I don't know if she's going to come to this area. I'd have to do some research to find someone here.
Because that's, you know, I got on eBay several years ago, because I have a bunch of playbills, and they go back decades. And they should be fairly easy to sell, and you can sell them on eBay, but to do the whole process of learning how to sell on eBay,
Yeah, you've got to
could
keep
be
up.
on me.
Yeah, and you've got to keep up with it, you know, because it's, yeah,
And they get shit on, forget it.
yeah.
But if there was somebody who did that,
And of course, they take the commission. I think she was like 60-40, which is pretty typical. But yeah, you know, someone who knows what they're doing and they take care of the shipping and all that kind of thing. So
How do you find somebody like that?
yeah.
I don't know. I need to do research and try and find someone who does it here in this area, because I don't think she would travel.
Because that could be a nice business for somebody who wants a gig.
Oh, this woman does very well.
Yeah.
I have an organizer friend in Baltimore, and she was trying to empty a house for a woman. The house had been sitting, not empty, but alone with no people in it for 10 years. And there were clothing, I tell you, designer clothing with labels and all kinds of stuff. My eBay friend said it was the biggest job she ever had. She sold a lot of that for the clients. Purses, jewelry, clothes, yeah. So let me, now I've got to come back, right? Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to let Jenna just talk a little bit about the garage sales, which is one idea. Yeah.
I'm also gonna touch on the antiques too.
Okay.
Because, so this kind of like talks about what we just talked, the consignment, I was looking for a piano because I recently took up piano. And yeah, you can't learn if you don't play. So Baystar is one of my favorite stores. I buy everything from consignment. If it's furniture, clothing, like Baystar is just, so I told Baystar one day, I said, do you have anyone getting rid of a piano? Like you come across a piano, I would like one. Well, a couple of weeks later, a lady came in looking to get rid of a piano. They said, we don't take them. We know a girl who wants one. So she came to the consignment shop that I was working at to get rid of her piano. I ended up going to her house, look at the piano, and she wants to give me a tour of her house. And she had these chairs, which were beautiful. And she was like, I want to get rid of them. I'm going through some I need some extra money and some extra room. She was going to sell them for like $100. And I said, Miss So-so, please don't do that. Like, these chairs are incredible. Like, they were old chairs, like hand-stamped leather. They were beautiful. So there was a friend of mine who's an antique collector and dealer. So I also was going to him about a piano. So I definitely have to get this piano to see what this means to my life. And I happened to show him these pictures of these chairs. I said, she wants to sell them for $100, and I hate to see her get taken advantage of. So he actually went to her house because he goes to people's houses. And he looked at the chairs and he ended up spending $3,000, which she was blown away by. So you never know what you have. And then and like Nadine said, they know what they're looking at. I showed him a picture this big on my little teeny iPhone, and he told me exact what time period they were. He had a whole backstory. I knew that there was something to it, but he knew exactly what there was to it. So just to add to the antiques, now garage sales. We worked in a garage the other day. We actually helped facilitate a garage sale this past summer. It was hot, so we're gonna say it was last summer sometime. That's the thing about working in a garage. It's hot or it's cold. It's heavy and it's dirty. Very dirty, and it's a little eerie because it's kind of outside, so you don't know what's like in that little nooks and crannies and the boxes, and it tends to be like the area. It's still an extension of your home, but it's like an outdoor catch-all extension of your home. So we kind of just put stuff there and forget what's there, and it accumulates dust and bugs and critters, and so it's definitely, hot, heavy, and dirty. It's a lot of work. It took 8 hours, I think. We got it done in 2 sessions. This gentleman had a garage that he used as hobbies and also to pull his cars in, but family members had dropped off a bunch of stuff to him because he had space that they didn't want. So he needed to have a garage sale so he could actually enjoy the purpose of his garage. So what we did is first we stood there like this. I had to he was overwhelmed. I wasn't overwhelmed. I was just looking for like a place to start. But what you do, you just pick something. So we went through everything. So say that his garage, was probably the size of this room, maybe a little less. And it was just boxes and cabinets and this and that and this and that everywhere. You could not see the floor. So little by little, we just made a path and we separated in two, like this is the stuff, that the unknown, and this is the known, and this is, the middle way right here. So we organized it on tables into, say, we had a section for fragile items. That was up front. Then we had a section for outdoor activities. Then there was a section for books, and there was a section for this, and there was a section for tools and hobbies. There was a section for donate, throw away, potentially sell, because he had a lot of cool artwork in there. So if you break it down, when you have stuff like that where it's a bunch of this, that, and the other, known and unknown, it's like you have to do it in layers. You have to peel it back and back and back. And it almost seems like you're creating more of a mess before you get to the organization. But if you put it together in sections, which is what we did, and then we set the tables up in sections. And a garage sale, there's something that you find that you feel like is a little valuable, set that off to the side. But if it goes into the garage sale, the point is to get rid of it. So it's got to be cheap, because people are looking to come there to get something cheap, and it's worth more to you going than it is that extra $1 that you want to put onto it. So it was successful. I mean, he had a floor. He was amazed that he was like, I don't know how we did this. And I'm like, well, we did. So he had floor again. He had space for hobbies. He had space for his vehicles. He had a successful garage sale, and hopefully learned not to take in any more of anyone else's stuff. So I think that was the most valuable lesson. That was the most valuable thing that came out of that for him.
And I think you have to sort of come up with your own rule. If it doesn't sell, it's going to go to Goodwill instead of putting it back in. So hopefully he did that. All right, so let's see where we're at. We're coming to the end. We talked about that. Oh, so Maxell, that is a good company. I haven't used them personally. A lot of other organizers have. So we belong to NAPO, which is the National Association of Productivity and Organizing Professionals. They just updated their name. And so what's so nice about that is that if I have a question, we share resources. So, we have like a listserv where people post questions, and I've seen a lot of organizers that have used this company and they say really good things. I think they're national. So they come into your house and they sort and organize things and they do a whole sale for you. So, and I don't know how they, with the money, I'm not exactly sure how they split that up. That was the ugly plant stand, according to my clients. And then, just some references that we've used. And I did want to share this with you, actually, which is happening tomorrow. I'm going to go. It's a free shredding event.
Yeah.
Oh, did some of you know about it?
Where is it?
Okay, let me see. 8694 Commerce Drive, Suite number 2. I don't really know how to spell this, to pronounce this. It's Eagle Sable Wealth Management Group is sponsoring it. And what's interesting is they're having Charlene Upham of Upham Antiques. And I think you can bring something. It says you have free antique appraisal. So not only can you shred papers, I'm going to go shred. My husband has to keep like his work papers for 7 years. I'm going to take a couple of boxes. It actually doesn't even say that there's a limit on how many boxes you can take. But just wanted to share that with you since it's happening tomorrow. What time?
What is the address again?
Okay, 8694 Commerce Drive, Suite number 2.
And what time?
Okay, let's see. My eyes aren't good. Oh, between 9 and 1 tomorrow. Yes.
I was just wondering, at what point would you use an appraiser?
Well, if it's something that you think that is worth, has some value to it, I would definitely. Are you talking about one item or are you talking about more than
Several items.
Yeah. Well, maybe, first of all, I don't know personally this person, and then Jenna's got an antique person, so you could contact us and Jenna can share. I would use a phone call, why not call? Some of them will want you maybe to take a picture, like the eBay person in Baltimore. Like when I'm working with a client, I'll take a quick picture, I'll send it to her, I'll say, can you sell this? She'll give me a yes or a no right away. So that might be how they work these days, to take a photo, you can get an answer.
Can you share the name of that eBay person or not?
Yes, I don't mind sharing. Her name is Lynn, where's my phone? Katzen, Katzen. And I don't know, if it's worth a while, maybe she'll come. And I have to just turn my phone on, I can give you her.
Well, I'm just thinking of my playbills. There's something I can transport to Baltimore. They're in Bob.
Oh, okay, and then again, just give her a call and ask her.
Yeah.
And she'll tell you. She knows what's selling on eBay and what isn't. So we have about 10 minutes, so this was the time we were going to leave for questions.
So what time, what's her telephone?
I just have to start my phone on.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to add 2 comments on sorting things because recently my mother moved from waterfront home to assisted living, a big house, and a lot of the things ended up coming to me. And when I got them, I had to say to myself, this is furniture, paintings. Is this making me smile? Is this making me happy? Does it bring back good memories? And if it didn't meet that criteria, it was donated.
Wonderful. That was,
A lot of people can't get there.
Yeah.
no, great advice.
Yeah.
Also to talk about clothes, I know some women have size changes and I understand that, but for me, I want my closet to just have the things that are fitting me now, that I love. And so with clients, I'll say, okay, let's make a bin, size 0. And it can go under the bed, it can go in the basement, but don't have those clothes sitting in your closet that's going to make you, get upset when you see them. So that's, but that's great. It's got to make you smile.
That's a good idea. Put them in deep storage.
I personally would say let it go. I used to be a professional ballet dancer. I'm never getting into the clothes that I used to wear 20 years ago, and how many pounds ago. So I don't want to be looking at those clothes. Okay, any more questions? Just looking at the context.
I have a question. Have you ever used any of the local auction places?
You know, there's like some country auction places around here.
I have not personally, but I know what you're talking about.
There's, I think, Crumpton or.
There's Crumpton, there's the popular one around here used to be Foxwell's auctions. And I think Buddy's still, his name's Buddy Foxwell. I think that, even though that is shut down, like I think that he still facilitates some, but it's American Corner.
Yeah.
Which is Caroline County, and then Crumpton, which
That's way up.
Kent Queen Anne
And
area.
Right.
Yeah.
But there is another auction house with a crown on it, because I've seen
Corona.
Corona.
Oh, Corona Stage.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that she, I can't remember her name. It'll come to me 3 hours from now, probably. But, actually, I have a friend that used to help her, like, facilitate the estate sales. And then there's, I don't know if we remember the old news center where that is in Talbot Town. And it was one day, it was last year, the year before, that a certain organization spent years collecting all these things, and they had that weekend sale. Yeah, it was to benefit a cause. I think it was like, let's say it was like women going back to school, or, you know, something like that. So there's pop-up things as well. There's a lot there, but you just have to either look for it or, you know, drop I don't know. A lot of other people know. That's why if you have like social media and you say, if you're on Easton happenings, like the other day I had a honeybee infestation in my house. And I put on Easton happenings, like, I need a beekeeper. Like, hundreds of bees. And within a couple, it did take some time, but I had someone come and he's getting, you know, after they take off the siding and all of that. He gets a piece of bees. So that's a good way, like if you have a question like that, any local auctions, because a lot of people know a little bit about everything.
And also Nextdoor, I don't know if anyone belongs to Nextdoor, but I do, and there's great information. You need a plumber or this or that, and I'm sure you could ask that question as well. People get right back to you, and it's always good to get a recommendation from someone. Let me just give Lynn's number. Lynn Katzen is 410-458-4050. So, any more questions?
That's a landline,
That's a cell phone.
So,
The Easton happenings and Nextdoor, are those Facebook?
Nextdoor is an app that you download on your phone. Yes, and
Easton happenings is on Facebook.
Yeah, there's like Easton happenings and Easton matters. You ask to join, and there's rules that you can't use for sharing information.
we had a lot of scammers contact us when we listed on Craigslist. I thought I'd just mention that. It was very upsetting. I mean, it had me in tears. People are so just trying to cheat.
take advantage, yeah. I don't understand that.
And the other thing, as a single woman, I don't like putting ads and having people come to the house and.
No, you
Yeah, I
can't
don't
be
want
in a
that.
public place or something, you don't have
Yeah.
people coming to a house.
So Craigslist or putting an ad in the paper like I used to do when we were married.
I remember doing my first like swap and sell thing, and it's like a pampered chef and baking stone, and I was terrified. I had someone go with me. We met at Royal Farms, and I was scared. Like it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and Tuesday, you're meeting a 20-some-year-old girl, but still, it doesn't matter. You don't know.
You don't know if it's a
So it's best to, like,
20-year-old girl that's gonna show up.
Right? If you can stay local and then get it from a trusted source, you know, that's better. Or if you can just have someone else take care of it
Yeah.
for you.
That's it.
Because when in doubt, just transfer the responsibility.
You gotta be cautious.
I was gonna say, business cards on the table if anyone's interested in finding out more about how we work.
Sure.
But happy to answer a couple more questions or?
No, I have.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming, everyone.